Yes, we are live. Welcome everybody to Trading Fast and Slow, where we look at the market from a different perspective than most and patient and let the trade come to us instead of trying to just, go after the market over and over and over and over and with least success. Starting off early, we do want to take note that we do have some mechanical levels starting off early. The C low, right, is right off. Well, it was off of the halfback at the time. So that's a level that I'm definitely going to want to mark. Oops, that's not the right button. Let's see. Let's call it a mech level. Okay. You can see the market is breaking out. It looks to be breaking up now. We were able to get above the open the market was and is looking to test some of these highs here, it looks like. Remember after that big sell-off we had on the 18th, and then on Friday the 20th put in a pretty significant low, most recent, right? And now we're kind of seeing this break back up into balance and seeing if we're going to get accepted into this balance. We do have a lot of prior lows kind of right at the range that we're at. And it looks like for me, I would say balance, is about here. So we're pretty much trading within that balance and looking to be, accepted. We looked like it might have been accepted. What on here? Oh, it looked like it might have been accepted below on Thursday. Friday sold off, but now we're back inside of it. We've kind of seen this a couple of times, so definitely something to keep watch on as the day progresses for sure. Really, the key here will just be acceptance above or below this Friday's high. As long as we keep staying above this Friday's high, then I think there's good odds that the market can continue to the upside. One thing I do want to kind of show you guys is something that we don't really consider a true gap, but something that I'm looking at is this kind of gap right here. You can kind of see it. It did trade it in, traded down a little bit in RTH, but not really fully closed. And that's kind of why I'm looking back at this settle right here. So I know it's not a true traditional gap, but we opened up, even the weekend we opened up here. Well, we opened up, open at. Yeah, the open was here, yeah. So the open was here. We pretty much just traded up, not coming back down to the settle from Friday. So where we closed, even the last was only 92, so it didn't come back down to the last trade either. To me, that's just kind of telling us there is kind of a weak spot in the armor, and that's just a level that I'll look for. Remember, we do treat these kind of gaps as excess. At least that's how I'm looking at it. Is so this is kind of an excess gap, even though it's not a true gap. And a lot of times we know that excess can act as support. So basically, every time this came down here, or during B period and during A period, you kind of saw it really just get slow, get slow, get slow. I think a lot of people front running that open, or front running that Friday's close, and then once we got it back above the open, we started to see a lot of the shorts that were short early on start to cover. Good morning, Peter. Good morning, Adam. Good morning, Trin. How is everybody doing on this wonderful day? Oops. I do have some stuff that we're gonna go through today. Well, that I was gonna go through today. If you guys want to stay and go through it, then um, you know, that's up. That's gonna be up to you, of course. But basically, just some lessons, some self-reflecting lessons. Basically, cancel that. Basically, just some self-reflecting lessons that we can kind of look in on ourselves and maybe see if there is some things that we need to do or can do to help some, you know, some improvement moving forward. I'm always looking to try to improve myself in any way possible. So one thing I'm always keying in on is um, just basically, you know, anything really, any areas of my life that I can look to improve or to to what's it called, I mean, basically just kind of rule out um you know, simple little errors that I have in my life, things that I can do to make it more cohesive or just easier, basically. You know what I mean? Like certain things that you figure out in life that, you know, make life easier. Like let's say you're doing a bench press, right? And everyone thinks, ooh, bench press, you need to have strong arms, strong chest. But really, if you just remember to flex your core or tighten, I don't even flex, but like tighten your core to brace to push the weight up, it becomes a lot easier, right? A lot of people don't, they forget about that, and then you see them kind of looking lopsided or things like that. So just simple things like that. Simple as when I want to go study, I know that I need to put my phone in a different room, because if not, and I get to a part in my studying where I feel like I know what's going on, I'll end up looking at my phone. It's just, you know, just small things like that. And then once the market slows down a little bit or starts to give us a little bit more information that I'm gonna share with you guys and things that I found, and if you guys want to use them or think that maybe they can improve you, then perfect. Not just tell me, hey, don't waste my time. So if we take a look across the market, right, we can see the weighted sector is doing a pretty decent job holding up. I was looking at Tesla earlier because Tesla kind of looked the weakest early on, but has since started to make some higher lows and some higher highs, so it's starting to look good. You can see the breadth starting to pick up a little bit, 2-to-1 on the NYSE, 1-to-1 on the Nasdaq, so not too bad. Everything but consumer discretionary is kind of doing well. Apple, Microsoft, Google, all green. Amazon being the one that's lagging behind, down 2.5%. If Amazon starts to go green, then there's probably good odds that the market starts to pop up. Tesla is still saying that it's red as well, but just barely really. So we'll just add an alert here and just pay attention to see if Tesla starts to pop. There's good odds that today, you know, continues to have a bit of rotation like it has, because the breadth is not really supporting it, right? We haven't really seen a ton of um you know, buyers coming in or really pushing the thing up. We saw a lot of short covering here during C period, and then D period I think just exhausted the rest of them. We have been talking about this steel trade for a while, and you can see it's starting. If we look at the day, the, the steel trade starting to work out. You know, we've kind of been talking about this for a while, waiting for steel to start to give a little bit of a sign. I think this might be another spot that, you know, gets bought up. We can see on this pullback, we really just kind of pulled back to these previous lows, looked below, back into this excess, this gap, right, and then have started to balance a little bit higher. So should steel start to break out of balance, I think there's good opportunity to maybe get some calls in on here up, you know, towards like the 45 or the 47.50 area. As we can see, there's a lot of action around those areas. Another one that I am looking at is rough rice. I know it seems kind of like you know, I mean, if you look here, I mean, it's up, it's already up, especially coming into 2022, but it hasn't really made that full breakout yet. So I'm kind of watching for rough rice to maybe get some gas as well. This is really thinly traded, and really you have to be really careful and patient to trade this. I mean, you can see when they made this previous high in 2020. We're kind of seeing that there. So that's another one I think probably decent to keep some eyes on as well. The book is pretty thin today. The volume is a little bit higher than Friday, about 2% higher than Friday. So nothing really, nothing too crazy or very impressive, to be honest with you. We're kind of seeing buyers just slowly lift the offer on the way up here. And you can see that the buying is getting a lot more aggressive towards the top. And a lot of times when they start to get aggressive like that and they can't hit that continuation, you notice we only have 21 contracts on the high. You know, it's a good sign of a little bit deeper rotations. And we've kind of seen that today, right? We are one time framing up though off of that B low, so that's definitely important to note as well. And so, you know, if you're sitting here looking for a short thinking, when is this thing gonna fall, you know, better odds to just be patient and wait for a cessation of one time framing, which would be, you know, back close to that open. And with that C low being a mechanical level at the time, I think if we do break the D low, there's good odds that the C low takes. So patience will be a virtue big time today. As far as a pullback area, if this thing does pull back, I'm looking for it to pull back to 50. I'd like to see us pull back that 39.50 level. I don't want to see us get back inside yesterday's range or Friday's range. I'd like to see us stay above that. So the market did pull back to 50. We start to see some buyers step up, fill in this weak volume here. Good opportunity for that upside. If not, and they get below that T2 high, I'll be looking to see if they take that D low. Taking of that D low, probably end up taking this C low, which was mechanical. And then, you know, up below that, they'll be looking to maybe fill this gap if, depending upon how it picks up. When I take a peek at the sectors, it looks pretty, decent. I mean, they all are kind of finding a little bit of balance up here at the top. Same thing with the sectors. It's just interesting today. Like, I mean, here, I'll pull this over for a second. I figured out how to overlay charts in Thinkorswim, so I just overlaid all of them. It just saves me space. Now I only have to have these 6 charts up. But if we look here, oh, I wanted to add study. Okay. If you look, like, gold is up a pretty decent amount. right? About 0.5%. Oil up to 110 is just getting back above its open here. Bitcoin's still going up, and we're seeing bonds come down, and bonds are heading pretty far down. We shoot down to TLT. TLT is kind of doing the same thing. A lot of times when TLT and bonds are heading down, we get the market going up. You can see oil's going up, so that's going to be good for the Dow, and the Dow's kind of been the leader today, up about 2% comparatively to the ES, who is only up about, was this 1.5%. The Nasdaq is only up less than 1%, right, which is the lagger and kind of the anchor, I would say. If the Nasdaq starts to get green and starts to break out over some highs, let's mark this Globex high, break out over that Globex high for Nasdaq could really start to pull the rest of the market up, and the market could really start to give it a go. You can see the Dow's breaking out here. I have to learn all the colors because I just made up all the colors, wrote them all down, made some index cards. So I'll learn all the colors, that way I can shout them out. And then when I make the index cards, I'll just screenshot them and put them in the Discord. There is this app I downloaded this weekend. The app is called Good Notes 5. It's a way, if you have like an iPad or a tablet, to keep all your notes in the same spot. I know I tell everyone to write everything down, but it just gives it a way that you can kind of keep everything in there. So we opened up E period with some single prints. We're looking to see if they're going to close. Remember, look for that mechanical buying off that Globex high, that 39.55. I think if it pulls down 39.50-ish and we see some buying, there might be some good opportunity to jump on the trend if you are not on the trend. And if not, we get too much below 50, might be looking for a spot to close your long if you are in a long. So we're one time framing off the low, opening up with some singles. You're pretty much getting to see it here, but it does look like some people are getting a little bit aggressive. This is the Euro close as well. So today didn't post your trading plan, but did a trade plan first period. Entered the trade above the gap, found buyers above 1MQ. 1MQ at 50 points. Level I'm watching above is 11,960 and 11,980. Let's see. Oh, they're pretty much at that level right now. 11,970 is right here. Getting some continuation here to the upside. Nasdaq starting to gas hard here. Remember that we do have the Fed minutes coming up this week. They are going to be on Wednesday. So that should be a big market mover. It's going to be later in the day, around 11 p.m. Pacific time. If we remember correctly, if I remember correctly, we can remember that this level was a big level. This 50, I think it was the 69, the 65, 39.65 to 39.69, but I think we called it 70 because it was this previous low. And then also there was a lot of interaction, this 69 level. I think this lower here is probably, oh, it's 59, but it was a 65 to 69 level that we had watched before as a key level for the market to get above for continuation. And then, of course, it failed last week and sold off. So you didn't get filled? Were you trying to get long? Yeah, that's it. Morning, Tommy. The breath's starting to pick up here a little bit. Almost 3-1 on the NYSE and 1.5 on the Nasdaq. About an eye on the Nasdaq and an eye on Tesla, or not Tesla, Amazon. Amazon's pretty much the only thing that's still red, but getting close to well, not really close. It's still about $50 off of the open. It's not, I mean, not too far, but still a pretty decent move. Apple's looking new strong, making new highs right here. The volt is just shooting up, and so is the advanced decline. I haven't seen the advanced decline really do something like this. I mean, if you look at this advanced decline line right here, starting to see it really kick off. Look, NYSE is almost at 3-1. But I mean, 1500. You can see the volume way up as well. Just to give you a comparison, you know, if we looked at a year and a day, it doesn't really get, you know, up to 1500 that often, right? This is all the way back, and you can see it just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 times since June 2021. So, you know, that's a lot of buying. Just something to note, something to pay attention to, right? You don't want to be just fighting the trend just because you're like, ah, this thing's over, it's too high. You know, you spend all day trying to short something like this, and then, you know, it ends up being costly to your account. Got out your first contract at 50? Good shit. Oh, you're trying to get filled at 54? Yeah, at least you identified it, right? That's the key. And I know you know, that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with, is that, you know, when you're first learning how to trade, you put in so much time and so much effort, and you don't see the results right away. It's not like a regular job where you're putting in hard work, putting in the effort, and you know, you're going to get a paycheck no matter what. Maybe your boss gives you an attaboy, maybe they, you know, train you up for something more special after some time. But in reality, when you're trading, you're your own boss, and so, you know, those are going to be key things that you're going to have to do for yourself, right? You're going to have to give yourself those attaboys. You're going to have to give yourself those, you know, those rewards or more responsibility, right? A lot of times you reward yourself with allowing yourself to utilize a little bit more risk, right? Um, that's something that I use. Or, you know, give yourself an attaboy, like, hey, you know, today you traded really well, and here's why. And, you know, keep this up, and you'll be allowed to trade with more money, or something, you know, something like that, right? You've got to remember that you've got to incentivize yourself, because you are your own employee. And think about yourself when you're at a regular job. If, you know, if all your employees are just working every day, day in, day out, and they don't have any incentives to improve or to do better, what do you think's going to happen, right? They're just going to get complacent and just kind of be comfortable where they're at. That's what happens. Normal, you would say. I would say. Starting to see them lift a little bit less offers here. The buyers are getting a little bit weaker here, so just be careful. As we're getting up here near the highs, it kind of, to me, looks like you're getting a little bit of absorption from sellers here. Yeah, there goes a little bit of a push down right there. So yeah, just be careful here in case these buyers decide to stop buying inventory up. Only 5 contracts traded on the very high. One question: how do you move your stop to protect your trade? Is it bar to bar, manual, or below some strategic? Yeah, normally I use the profile. Normally I'll move my stops to profile references. Like, so like right now my stop is below this elo. So still pretty far away from price, but I think there's opportunity to hit up. I mean, remember how close we were to that 4100? I think there's opportunity to get to like that 3990 today. I don't know if we'll get to 4,000, but I think there's some opportunity up here. The breadth is starting to pick up. Over 3 to 1 on NYSE, 1.82 on the NASDAQ. All that we need is Amazon to start participating in this, and then boom, there it goes. James George, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Good to see you. Oh, you guys want to hear something funny? On Friday, I think it was Friday, right? We were talking about kind of everything that was going on. I got a YouTube strike. Must have struck a chord with something that we said, because we didn't play. I watched the video back. We didn't play like any music or anything like that. And it just referenced. It said, here, let me pull up the email. Where's it at? Yeah, it says our team has reviewed your content. We think that you may need to make changes and make sure it doesn't violate our spam, deceptive practices, and scams policy. In the meantime, we made the following content private: video, live trading fast and slow. Is Bitcoin gonna break out? And that was the one. I guess that was the one from the 19th. So that video is private. I guess you won't be able to see it. It's just kind of stupid. I don't know what we did on there, but must have struck a chord with something that we said. Oh yeah, that was the day. Oh, yep. That was the day. That was the day that we were getting it in, talking about how fucked Europe is. Um, yeah, that makes sense. So, guess that YouTube isn't a huge fan of that. Yeah, I could drop the template for 2 hours. Set up, share workspace.
Kind of sucks to even be on YouTube, which is a different platform.
We could just go to Twitch and let's only be on Twitch. Twitch is a faster stream anyways. But I mean it doesn't matter to me, guys. I don't care. I mean, I just thought it was funny. I just think it's funny because, like, you know, if we're saying that stuff, and our channel is not very big, like, let's be honest, and we're gonna get a, you know, like a slap on the wrist, like a hey, you guys better chill it. Um, you know, obviously we're striking the right chords. You know what I mean? Like nobody gets pissed off about stuff that's not true. You know what I mean? I mean, some people do, I guess, but they shouldn't. But that's when people get more pissed off about it, is when things are actually true. RIP, fuck you, dude. You know, it's funny. My wife and I were watching this movie last night. Let me pull it up. What was it called? We were watching it on, I think it's on YouTube as well, but we were watching it on Amazon Prime. The same, still has ads on both. But let me see what it was called. Inequality for All, that's what it was called. If you guys haven't had a chance to check that out, it's an older movie made in 2013, but an interesting movie for sure, showing that basically, you know, I mean, we're having the exact it's called Inequality for All. It's on YouTube. Let me see. I'll post the link. Uh, in the raw. Yeah, it's on the YouTube movies. Here's the link for it here in the YouTube chat. It's a good movie. Um, it's just interesting to see. These are. It's kind of like a documentary made after the aftermath the of the big financial crisis, but it's just funny because like a lot of the issues that we had back then we're still having now, so it's like what the fuck, why are we having the same exact issues that we've had before again? Stupid. Basically get demonetized if you mention any drugs, show weapons, or anything related to politics. Yeah, unless you're like a political channel that's approved to talk about that stuff. But I wasn't even talking about politics. I was talking about just basic economics. But the thing is like I think that people are just not um paying attention. It's like they've got fucking blinders on. Market's just kind of chilling up here. Like I said, it kind of looks like you're getting a little bit of absorption up here from sellers. So looks like there is a little bit of selling, and it would make sense because if we zoom out here, we can see, we're kind of right at this prior day's low here. And so maybe people are selling off that low. Back into balance at 40-20 level, 40 yeah, I think that 40-20 level would be a pushback in. That 30-90 kind of looks like the low of balance to me. Big order just traded 118 lots. Looks like it traded on the bid. Yeah, it traded on the bid. 118 lots. And we're starting to see, our half pipe start to develop here. So we got a big chunk of absorption up here. Buyers down here, kind of on the 50 or 60 to 56. Right above that Globex high, you can see that's kind of where that volume cuts off, right? This is only the past 30 minutes at least, so it doesn't really include there. You can see the next chunk of volumes down at the 50, and then most of the volume around that prior day high, and the T2 high. So basically, we're looking for either a pop above here and to get some continuation, or a fade down below. And really, I'm not really a huge fan of the low side, like I said, until we're back down close to this D low or even below that D low. I'll just be sticking to being patient and buying pullbacks. Bitcoin's been failing to make higher highs today as well, so it did have a little bit of pop off of that initial low after the open, but really just came back into value, hit off that point of control, and is kind of getting sold off again. But it does seem, it seems mechanical, right? You can kind of see, if we were to really draw it, kind of like weak highs just all over. Here's a weak high, right? Weak high here, weak high here, weak high here. Looks like AMD's on the inside day, not really doing anything. It's all scanned when you upload it, especially channels that are in English or deeply monitored. Since you stream investments 99.8% of the time, you suddenly talk about current. Oh yeah, that makes sense, Poke. Yeah, especially if I'm striking the chord the right way. And I'm starting to make music here. That's one thing that they definitely are looking for. You know, they're looking to see if they're looking for you to try to, like, you know, because they have an agenda that they're pushing, and if you're going against the agenda, their agenda now is just don't be scared at all of anything.
You don't even think about talking about COVID. We're done. Oh, dang, I just said the word. Oh, you might get another strike. Shit, sorry.
I'll be okay. I'm like Michael Scott, bro. I got no shortage of YouTube channel names. I can make one up every single day. I need to make these. What's green? Financials are the big winner today, it looks like. Look at XLF. Yep. Financials are breaking up. Finally found a bottom, it looks like. Yeah, consumer staples doing okay as well. Opened on a gap. We saw the market pull back down to our lower part of our half pipe, right? That 62, and it's kind of starting to fill in. How'd you get back inside? Uh-oh. If we take a peek and you look at crypto year to date, you can see Bitcoin being, and BNB also, um really the strongest, even though, you know, it's been very, very weak, a lot of these. You can see the divergence in crypto projects when it comes to pullbacks in crypto, right? A lot of people are pulling their money out of ADA and Sol, even AVAX, but Sol and ADA being the keys here, like big solid projects that have a lot of followers, a lot of people behind them, good networks and good technology, but everyone's, you know, flushing into Bitcoin just in case, it seems like. That's why Bitcoin's gaining a little bit more support than some of these other cryptos.
All right, Brad, I'm late to the party. What are you thinking up here?
Um, I mean, we're just above yesterday's high still. So basically, what I was saying is I'm in a long still, just waiting, you know, for continuation, just being patient in this trade. But we've got single prints down below. We're one time framing up off that B low. And really until the market gets back into yesterday's range, which is that T2 high, I'm just looking if it does pull back to buy pullbacks until we get back below this T2 high. If it does get below that T2 high, I'll be looking to see if it can break the Friday high. If it breaks that Friday high, that D low will be their target. We have a low volume area where we could see buyers step in, right? They might not have got a chance to buy there. It's in value, so we could see buyers step up in this area. If they don't, that C low was at a impulse off of half back at the time, so it was a mechanical level for me, and I think that might be a level that they look to go try to take. But right here, we're not really getting anything, just getting a lot of volume at the top. I think we're getting a little bit of absorption up here off of these sellers. We were kind of having a little half pipe. We saw them bring it back. I mean, they brought it back down to really down to the 62. Buyers stepped up, 65 buyers stepped up. See that little volume node here, and now they're just kind of backfilling all of this area here. And much above the 72, 73 area, we'll probably see some short covering that take us up to the highs.
I like it. Yeah, I got on like 10 minutes ago and I was watching it, and it just seems like such a choppy area up here. Like they can't really decide what they want it to do. We're up here right now.
And this is a previous area where we saw this 65 to 70 level was kind of a area of support / resistance on the way down in this prior balance. We'd seen some big reactions around this level, so it makes sense that if sellers are going to be trying to jump on, or if buyers are looking to take profit, that this is where they're doing it. What's going on, Buzz? The big thing here is just just being patient. Today's one of those days where you've just got to be patient, because there's not really a lot of tempo until there is. So the market's just kind of bouncing around, and then all of a sudden, boom, it just starts to go, and then it goes back to just doing nothing. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess if we're getting a little bit of a lull and you guys want to get into some, here, let's see. What do you expect from earnings report this week? They're mostly the consumer side. Yeah, let me see. James sent me the earnings calendar yesterday, so let me send it to myself on Discord. Or where did he send it? Did he send it to me and Jared? Where's that fucking earnings calendar at? I guess when he sent it to me.
I don't know. I
Oh,
was looking at it the
Instagram.
other
He
day.
sent it to me on Instagram. Okay, there we go.
Isn't the FOMC minutes come out on Wednesday too, right?
Yes, I do.
Nice.
Send this to. Send it to myself on Discord. James is fucking funny. How can I send it to myself? To James. Jared, what's FOMC stand for? James wants to know. Do you know? You just know that it's important. I mean, that's really the key, is just to know that it's important. But the previous day balance area and how you marked it. What do you mean, Tommy? Look on here. What just comes up on Instagram? Oh, okay. So here's the earnings calendar. This is what I was trying to pull up real quick. So we don't really have. I mean, there's not really too big of names.
Federal Open Market Committee.
Nailed it. We got Zoom coming on this today after market. We got Best Buy, Dole, which is there's a big Dole plan actually in that town that I live in. Nvidia on Wednesday, Costco. So some of these names I think are gonna be pretty decent market movers. Auto, Crypto Mojo. Good morning. The reason I think so is because we saw some of these names. I mean, Zoom, big, of course. Watch for F period to fill these singles. It'll really give us a little bit of insight that we might come back down to that 50 level. If it's able to close these singles here, there's probably good odds it comes down to 50. One tick, that's mechanical. But remember, we've left mechanical levels below and kept trading up too. And today's not a day really want to get short, just looking to get in on that pullback. Like this. Zoom in a little bit. Oh no, it just zooms in the white this side. Stupid. Yeah, so basically we've seen Zoom is basically just like a distance thing, right? Like everyone, we're on fucking Zoom right now, right? So we know, and I've been saying to short Zoom ever since it joined the NASDAQ, which was let's see. When did Zoom join the NASDAQ 100? April 24th, 2020. So as soon as it joined, so here's April. This is when it joined. And I actually did catch a good short the day that it joined the NASDAQ. Obviously, it ripped up a fucking ton. And now it's kind of back down to those, a little bit below those same levels. I just haven't been a big fan of Zoom just because it's basically standalone. I like Zoom personally. But I just think it's going to be tough for Zoom to continue competing with Microsoft Teams and Apple Meetups or whatever the fuck Apple has their thing called. I have no idea. I don't have Apple computers, so but you know what I mean? Like these big names, or I think it's called Google Meetups, Google Meets. Apple probably has their own thing, Apple Trees or something. Who knows? But you know what I mean? Like it's hard for some of these big names to compete. So it's with a lot of these online retailers projecting or using projected growth as new users. How many new users are really going to be coming on Zoom here soon? Is it going to be that many? Apple doesn't have one, though they will, I'm sure, eventually. Poor high. It's like and then with apple trees with some of the other ones that are up, right? We have Nvidia this week, so that could be a big mover of all of the chip makers. But we have Costco, and we saw good breaking up. That's why we don't want to be getting short today. Waste. Walmart, right? Walmart got absolutely demolished. Maybe it will recover by June, so my options can come back to life, but I don't think so. It's a pretty big move. Walmart got clapped. Let's look at isn't Kroger company got clapped. Is Safeway's a thing anywhere else? I don't know some of the other big names like that. Maybe Target. I think it's TGT. Target, right? Target got clapped. I mean, it's just like if Costco, Costco already got clapped. So if their earnings come out and they continue to get clapped, it's not going to be great for consumer confidence, I don't think. And we're looking back down to, I mean, Costco's still up a ton, but I don't know. Just don't know. It just depends on really the guidance. I don't think it's going to have as big of an effect because a lot of the names this week that are coming out had already been punished by last week's earnings. You know what I mean? Like they didn't really. I don't think that their earning they basically just kind of priced in everything because they're late in the earnings window, right? And so like similar things that have gone have an effect on other things like that. So if we look at, let's say, AMD, and when was AMD's earnings? Back on May 2nd, right? And they had good earnings, a surprise good earnings. So we look for Nvidia, and Nvidia's earnings are today, or the 25th. So what's that? Wednesday. They might have, really good earnings. They had a surprise beat last time. If they have a surprise beat this time, which I'm sure there's probably so many pre-orders already sold on Nvidia, GPUs, that it makes sense that they have an opportunity to get some continuation. They have it priced in. I think so. I think so. Okay, the balance we are in for a week or so. Yeah, so you were using the high of the 9th and the low of the 10th. So what I was using would be the high from the 9th. You're using the low from the 10th. See, I was using the low from the 11th. So like my balance area like this. And we see like, push below, failed to hold, back to the center, a little bit of balance, test the high, fail, straight all the way through, right? Big liquidation day, a lot of weak references, and we're kind of trading up through them, which is why I think that last week reference up to those single prints around 39.90, I think is the target today, 39.95 maybe. And then we had that kind of balance day. This was the 19th was Thursday, and then Friday, we had that kind of big breakdown. Everyone got super short. Buyers stepped in, popped the market back up. We bounced overnight inside of that value, and now we looked below it this morning. Couldn't even come back down to close. Like I said, this fake gap that I'm calling it, down to the settle, right? On a Sunday, a lot of times I'll consider that a gap. We just never traded below it. You can see, like, I mean, there's just no trading down here. And, now the market's kind of pushing up towards the high, looking towards that 20, that 40-20 is really like the center of balance, but looking to get accepted in this balance. So unless we see a strong reaction, off of these levels, if I were to merge these three and then merge these two, I mean, you can see kind of like 40-12 to 40-20-ish is kind of the area that seems, if the market were to run up into there and didn't get a strong reaction, then the target would eventually become this high of balance around 40-59 to 40-70-ish area, that excess up there. And it was kind of the same, I mean, the same here as well, that 26 to 41. So there's a lot of mechanical levels above, I think, but there's also, it seems like for the most part, slowly and slowly they're just short covering. The big offer stepping up at the 39.80. It looked like I just saw it for like 347 lots, it looks like. Just kind of popped its head in, like, oh hey, I'm here. Notice me. Yeah, and it's really, yeah, Tommy, it's really just kind of like it's really there's no reason to think that the way that you're doing the balance area is any less or better than mine. It's the same. It's the idea, right? It's hard to be exact, and the market is not exact. And I think when people are looking for these exact levels, that's where sometimes it gets them, they oops, I don't want to do that. It gets them, stuck either out of a trade, or waiting patient for a trade, or um and get them stuck in a trade because of exactness. I remember this F high to me, I say, is a little bit mechanical right off that D high. So if the market does come down, get below volume, that's where I would imagine that sellers would be looking to push down below. That's how you would be able to gain some momentum, is get these buyers that are in here to start selling. And it looks like the buyers aren't being as aggressive up here. Not really anything too crazy going on. If we look over here, yeah, a lot of the futures are just kind of chilling up higher. A lot of the risk off, and I guess it's like a mix of risk on and risk off, is kind of chilling up higher. You can see our FANG index here. Everything seems to be trying to make higher levels. And then all of our top sectors here look to be making higher levels as well.
I mean, I watched this documentary on BlackRock. Dude, the amount of shit that BlackRock owns is insane.
Yeah.
It's and what's crazy is that they're on, like, when they do these regulatory meetings and they meet with government stuff, they're on both sides of the table. Like they own the banks, and then they're helping the government regulate the banks. It's crazy.
Easy to
And they
win.
own,
Easy to win when you're
yeah,
both players.
right.
You know.
And they're in every sector, in almost every company. So they're like Pepsi and Coke. It's like it's like Apple and Google and Microsoft. Like, can't lose.
Well, and that's the thing is like, you've got to have that diversity and that opportunity for growth. I mean, they're doing a little bit other things, and it'll be interesting if the housing market were to take a hit, if the government will well, this thing might keep going up here. If the government would bail them out, or if they'll just be like, sorry, you guys spent all your money and now you have no more money, and so now you're fucked. Or if the bank will just keep lending them money because they BlackRock actually owns a lot of collateral, right? They own a lot of houses, so at least they have that collateral to dump
Yeah,
if they need to.
yeah, they were allowed to buy up all the houses in 2008. But they were also the ones that are allowed to pass out the stimulus money, which I thought was super crazy. To have a company pass out stimulus money. And the only rule on the money was that they had to, in 5.5 years, they had to tell Congress who they gave the money to, and then Trump took that out before he signed it, so there wasn't even any rules. It's insane. I mean, if you were a small business, you had to borrow money. It wasn't even a stimulus; you had to borrow money, and and then of course some people got $600, and that was it. But if you're a big corporation, you got just handed to you. There you go. Have fun. Don't worry about paying that back. It's all good.
Yep. That's how it
And did you
goes when
notice
you're rich and
that the
powerful.
bank? Yeah. Did you notice that the banks weren't complaining about getting bailed out, and they weren't asking for money on this last one?
I didn't pay attention, to
Because it
be
turns out,
honest.
yeah, well, it turns out that after the 2008 crash, that we made a law that they automatically get paid, so they don't have to ask for money. So banks automatically get bailed out now. So that all that money is on top of what the banks got also. So they don't even include that in the whatever it was, 2 trillion turned into 6 trillion, which will be however many trillion when it's all done. It's pretty crazy. So it's automatic bailout now. So insane.
That's what we need to check. Are Arizona iced teas still $1? Talking about inflation here.
I think they are.
I used to fuck Arizona iced teas up all day. Oh man, little peach mango, little grape aid. I mean, I probably used to drink one every day when I was tattooing, when I was living in Santa Cruz. I used to, because work started at 11. I would get there like 10:30, get like a handful of licorice, a donut, and a fucking Arizona, and that's how I would start my day every day.
Dude, I just saw something the other day, Brad, and it was like talking about inflation, and then it was like the Costco hot dog and drink for $1.50. It was like, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, dollar store is still $1.
Yeah, the ones at Costco, yeah,
They got to be
$1.50.
the $2 stores.
Well, that was like one of the stipulations of the guy who sold Costco. I guess he said there was two things that he never wanted to change, and that was the hot dog and drink for $1.50 and $5 rotisserie chicken. Those were like, it's like in their contract whenever they bought the
That
company.
chicken's good.
You guys don't have to have a Costco card to go shopping at Costco either, right? Just so you know. If you want to get around the membership, just buy a Costco gift card and boom, you can go there.
Yeah.
That's cool. I thought they stopped you at the door.
No,
You
they
also
won't.
don't need any money to buy alcohol there. You just need a backpack.
Oh, well, that's frowned upon and against the law. So
I've seen it done, dude. You know they don't check those receipts.
no, they just try to look at the number of things you have in your cart and check off those numbers. I like to piss off the people at Walmart because they started doing the same thing because people just fucking steal from Walmart constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but you don't actually have to show them your receipt because you're not a member there. So, and you don't really have to show them your receipt at Costco too. But it's like, you know, if you're a member there, you want to be causing an issue. You're a member of the club. Like, you know, just don't steal, right?
Just tie all your sacks in a big knot. Real tight knot.
Well, the thing is, when you go to Costco, there's no bags there. So everything is in a like either in boxes, like leftover like fruit boxes. A lot of times they have or leftover boxes, or nothing. Or I mean, maybe if you bring your own bags, it's in your own bags. But like Walmart, you know, everything's kind of bagged up and stuff. And when I walk out, like there's this guy, especially the Walmart here. I love pissing him off. He used to be a military police officer, and now he's a Walmart checker, and he's probably 40 years old. And he's like, "Can I see your receipt?" I'm
That's
like,
bad.
"No, thank you." He's like, "What?" And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't I didn't say something that was a question." He's like, "I need to see your receipt." I'm like, "Is it mandatory?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Well, then you're not seeing it." He's like, "Why not?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just don't want you to." He's like, you know, kind of
Yeah,
giving,
whereabouts on your business? Or she
like,
threw it away, yeah? So go
trying
get
to,
it.
he's probably trying to fucking see what kind of gardening soil I'm getting.
I mean, they're not checking everybody, so they're totally profiling. You know, whoever they check, they're profiling.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm wearing a tank top, so fucking tattoos from fucking chin down, basically. And you know, who else are they gonna stop? You know, that's why I did it, because it seemed like I was getting profiled, and I'm not into that shit at all. Like, it just doesn't. It's not cool for me. I fucking hate it, actually.
Yeah, they shouldn't have made the customers the cashiers, and they wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, well, that's what the reason they're doing it is because they have that self checkout line. They should just get rid of self checkout. That's what they should do. Because you guys realize what self checkout is, right? Just the easier way for the market to, or for the company to continue to make higher wages without having to pay anybody. They're like, "Hey, you could work for me for fucking 10 minutes. Go ahead, bag up your own groceries, bitch."
Exactly. It's like they made us an employee.
Yeah, like, what? Pass. You know, no chance.
Hey, we're
It's like one of those.
1099.
It's like one of those things, Brad, where you're checking out and yourself and you're like doing it wrong, and they're like, "Oh, you're doing it wrong," and then you're just like, "Do you recognize me?" And they're like, "No," like,
Oh,
'cause I
yeah.
don't fucking work here.
Yeah.
You know, like don't fucking tell me. Like I don't fucking check out groceries. All right.
Yeah, no
No
shit.
offense.
sorry,
I'm
Mr.
doing it
Green.
Nothing
wrong.
against it. Nothing
I didn't
against
take the
it. I
training.
just don't do it. You know, it's like you get all fucking pissed off, and they're like, "Sir, you're doing it wrong." It's like I don't know how to fucking do it. All right.
Yeah, I mean,
Forgive me.
there's better ways to run a lot of these companies as far as like wages go, and you know, that's kind of what makes me nervous is the wage gap is just getting so big, and um people are sold that not education, not I don't want to say education because education is extremely important, but the type of education that is going to be needed if we start to go back into more of an industrial type country, which is where we thrive the most, right? We've had in this country, you know, a few industrial revolutions, ish, you know, if you really think about it, and that's where the skills and the tactics are going to be, you know, operating machinery, um, you know, running warehouses, manufacturing goods. And so with people not really having some of these skills or not really seeing the use in some of these skills heading forward, that's where the delay is going to be. And that's kind of what it's kind of like a, have you guys ever been in a run where there's like a lot of people. So like, let's say you have just this big group of people, right? And they're all lined up to run. I don't know if any of you guys have ever done this, but this is how we do it in the army. It's the worst. And it's how the economy is run, which is the worst. And it's run by the federal government. So, I know it's the worst because I worked there, and it's just not the worst, obviously better than other countries, but there's just better ways to run it, right? So imagine all these people right here. They're in this formation, right? This formation, I know it's terrible. We're all running this way. Well, what happens is, and this is the same thing that happens in labor markets when they're trying to catch up with jobs, right? There's a shortage of nurses. Pretty soon, it's going to go to the point where it's like impossible to get a job as a nurse. I mean, not pretty soon, but and nursing might be the bad example, but like certain jobs, there's going to be a spot where, it's impossible to get into nursing, right? I mean, it really was. If you look back, I remember back in like 2000. Probably like 2007, 2008, it was a lot of nursing schools were impacted, right? You had to have like really good ass scores to get in. Even when my wife went to nursing school, it was super competitive. Nursing school still now is super competitive, but there is a need for nursing jobs right now. And so what happened was nurses are in big shortage, and then the schools get super competitive because everybody is applying, right? And so that's what's going to happen. And when you have these manufacturing jobs that require certain certifications, because now everything requires a fucking OSHA certification and a risk management and I mean, there's like a million of these things. And so what happens is you get that snake effect where you start running, and then these people start getting spaced out a little bit. They start getting far, and then all of a sudden supply catches up with demand, and then boom, you're back in the box running in a nice formation. All right, let's just say we're going this way now, right? So we can get rid of this, and it's the same idea. They start to get spread out, and then they come back into a formation. It's the same way with all of these jobs with the economy. And so, that's kind of what I'm thinking as far as if young people that are looking to go into a career field, shy them away from things like real estate agent, because real estate agents right now are making bank, right? And they've been making bank for a little while, but that's not a job that it's a seasonal job, and these seasons can last years, but it's a seasonal job. And unless you are a really good salesman, you have really good people skills, you're really open, you like to talk to strangers, things like that. If these are not some of your strong suits, being a real estate agent is going to be, it's going to be tough. Just like if you want to be a construction worker, right? Or you want to maybe be a laborer, and you don't like getting dirty, well, that shit's going to be tough. So if you want to work, you've got to start planning it, but you want to start looking at it as far as things people need, right? What do people need? People need food, shelter, and water, healthcare, education, right? Those are kind of like the 5, I think I would say, building blocks of the country. And so, like we said, if you cut off a leg, right? Or like I said, maybe our hand is a little bit overextended, right? We've got a hand in Europe. We've got a hand in Japan. We've got a hand in Korea. We've got a hand in the Middle East. We've got a hand in the Baltic states. We've got a hand, in Africa. We've got a hand in Asia. Like our hands are all over, right? So if one of your hands or one of your arms gets cut off, what your body does, what your arteries do, is they shunt, back up into your body to protect the core. And that's our core, right? Manufacturing, education, food, water, shelter, right? The American dream. What did you say? Dow's about to go? I'm looking at the Dow. Dow already went. Ooh, the Dow's in a tight range. Look at this. What it kind of? Oh yeah, that's on the 5-minute chart. The Dow's in a super flat, tight range over here. So if we were to look on a TPO, you can kind of see it's just kind of stuck up here. But the Dow has been leading us today, so let's put an alert there. If we get that high on the Dow alert and we haven't broke the high on the ES will probably go. Looks like a poor high. Yeah, it does. All right. Who wants to get into and a cat? And a cat, yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get rid of my cat. She's cool. Watch that F low. Let's see what they go. And just remember, just because the F low goes doesn't mean that it has to necessarily keep going down. That will just be the first cessation of one time framing since B period, right? We've been one time framing up since B period. And in early sensation of time, one time framing, this early in the morning, it's only 9:30. Might be, 12:30 for some of you guys, or 11:30, I guess, right? No, it's 12:30, yeah. 12:30, so a little bit after lunchtime. It could just mean that the market's going to get a little bit more rotational, right? But if it doesn't break, that can kind of give us an insight that how weak the sellers are. If it does break by one tick, a very still mechanical level. So level down to watch for now is the 60. At 39.60 to 39.50 seemed like a spot where you could see some support, right? That would be a fill of all those singles, and so that would kind of be bearish, and then an entrance into Globex's range might be a bit bearish as well. So just to, something to note, buying that 50. I know, I mean, I still kind of like this 50 level, but I'm being patient to see if this if we keep pulling back here. $11:30 for you? Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, we got people. For Tommy, it's like fucking nighttime, right? What time is it over there? 4:30 in the afternoon. And for James, it's only like 7:30 in Hawaii. So look at that. Cleans up that one, leaves a different one behind here. G-Lo goes right to that E open. Oh, 5:30 for you? What's Google wrong then? Google says 4:30. Look at the lesson. Volume's getting a little bit less. So we started off about 2% more volume initially on the move up, and now we're at about 3.5% less volume than yesterday. Yeah, it does look like it's either gonna be a trap or fail. The issue is with the low volume, it becomes a little bit more difficult for the market to really push lower. And if we take a peek at the VIX, right? The VIX started to get the VIX started to get a little bit wild on Friday, right? Came all the way up to 32, but has since got back under 30 and just kind of sitting under 30. So still elevated for sure, right? Anything above 20, I would say elevated VIX. But you know, who knows? It could become the new norm, kind of like we talked about how, you know, in the late 2000s, gas, you know, was coming up to like $3, and I know people are like, this is crazy. And you know, now it's kind of the same. You know, that didn't go anywhere, just kind of stayed around. Mech level, yeah, mechanical, yeah, mechanical level. The thing is, if I typed out mechanical, probably spell it wrong, and there's no spell check on my levels. Then I'd have to Google it, and it's just, you know, a little quick shorthand here. And so now you can kind of see we're forming a double distribution here, right? When you're looking at this profile, we've got a little bit of excess on the bottom, excess on the top, distribution, distribution. So now what we're looking to see is that now that we have created, or we're up in this upper distribution, is volume gonna follow us? If volume follows us, good odds that we maintain the distribution. If volume does not follow us, good odds that we come back down and move back into a balanced profile. All right, so as the market's just chilling, let's get into a couple of these lessons. I am going to be taking off probably around like 10:30 because I want to go work out today before it gets too hot. It's supposed to get like 100 something today, and I'm not trying to fucking burn my skin outside in the sun. So, I want to talk about self-image, right? I think a lot of people, or a lot of traders, right, they have a lot of doubt. Oh, let's get into your question first, Rasta. Okay, why is it called a mechanical level? It's called a mechanical level because it's an easy to see level. And so when you think about something, right, if I told you go to the stop sign and turn right, you could go straight to the stop sign and turn right, right? Well, if I told you, hey, I want to buy the E open, that's an easy spot to get, right? You're like, I want to, a little bit different when it comes to levels, like, you know, basically these are levels that are not going to change, right? You know where they're at and they're always going to be there. That's what I mean. So like at the stop sign at the end of the street, it's going to be there unless somebody fucking runs it over and takes it out, right? Which can happen, I guess. But this Globex high is always going to be here. So if we saw buying off that Globex high, that'd be mechanical because it's an easy to see reference. And the key thing to take away from is that mechanical levels typically are shown by weak-handed traders, right? Because a bigger trader doesn't give a shit. Oh, I'm gonna buy the Globex high. They're like, I need to buy 500 lots, and I want a good price. That's what they want. They want a fair fill. They don't care if it's at the Globex high. They just want a fair fill. You know, they're gonna get pissed if they come back and their average is 30.68, and they see that we're way above Globex high. Like, why don't you buy it in that range? You fucking dummy. Right, and so that's why we're looking at these levels, because typically short-handed traders or weak-handed traders, short-term time frame traders or weak-handed traders don't hold on to positions. They cannot. Yeah, like whole numbers, right? Like that's more of a psychological level, but along the same tracks, like something that everybody can see, right? But yeah, so let's twist the twist the page a little bit, or turn the page a little bit, and we'll update the market as it goes on. But we're going to talk about things basically that I've learned, and things that others have learned that are important, I think, to get to the point that you need to be comfortable with yourself as a trader, right? Or as a, what I refer to as a risk manager. I mean, they're two different positions, but I like to call ourselves a risk manager because that's what we need to do first before we can trade, right? If you can't manage risk well, the trading part is not going to be the easiest thing to come by. And Q looks like it's breaking up. I think I'm watching the Dow. The Dow's looking. Just be careful here. It's looking kind of weak. But so basically, we are, as people, a portrait of our past experiences, right? Things that have happened in our past successes, failures, behaviors, and they kind of make us who we are, right? And until we start to understand that, it's gonna be hard to move forward with yourself, right? And that's really the key here, is you need to be able to understand yourself to move forward. And a lot of us are, how do you explain it? We kind of build our foundation on our past experiences instead of just what are we doing now, and what is going on, what is our plan going forward. And so we sometimes mentally limit ourselves with the ability, thinking of our abilities from the past, right? Thinking, okay, I'm not skilled enough, I'm not I'm not smart enough, I don't have the time, I don't deserve it, right? Things like that. And that's really one of those things where you really have to push over that edge and understand that, past results do not predict. What do they always say in the trading videos? Past performance does not predict future results, right? And that's the reason that they say that, is because just because you've done well before at something doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do well the next game. And same thing on the vice versa. Just because you didn't perform well in the game before doesn't mean that you're not going to perform well in the future. But if you assume that because you didn't do well before that you're not going to do well in the future, then you're definitely not going to do well in the future. And that's what I'm trying to get at here, is that a lot of times the reason that people are not successful in this field is because they keep getting in their own way, worrying about too far in the future, or worrying about the past. And, that's, it's going to completely put you in a box and basically cap you to gain, or to anything really. And so a lot of times we need to create, I don't want to say create a new reality, but we need to distinguish between the two, right? Because a lot of times, knowing what you know now, let's say, now about what it takes, what kind of effort it takes, what kind of level it is to be great at something, right? We've talked about that a bunch. And so I want you to maybe use your imagination to think of yourself today in those past situations. How would you have performed back in those past situations today? Right? In those past situations that you felt that you didn't perform well. And if you would perform well in them today based off of how you are, well, then that's one thing you need to let go. Don't let something like that bring you down. You can perform poorly in the past, and the goal here is to improve. And if you can tell yourself that, oh, should I have gone back to that spot right now, I would improve based off of what I know now, then you've improved since then. And that's the goal, is just to improve yourself every single day. I think one thing people really put their hat on is, you know, and it doesn't help, is they compare themselves to everybody else, right? And that's, I'm not saying that competition is a bad thing, but what I'm saying is when you're competing in something, you have to understand that you're also competing against yourself. And so, you know, if you keep comparing yourself to other people too early on, right? Knowing that they're in a different part of the journey than you, or that even if they're at the same part of the journey in you and they're advancing a little bit quicker, right? You've got to understand that everybody is on their own journey, and you can't be, you can't be uh holding on to all that. You gotta understand that comparing yourself, improving upon yourself is the ultimate goal, right? Yeah, oh, you want to be, you know, better than Jim Dalton, great. But if you don't improve on yourself every single day, you'll never get better than him. Another thing too, I think that people, since I'm kind of on my soapbox right here, getting after it, another thing people think, or I think that people don't do is they're not happy enough, right? We've got to remember it's okay to be happy. And you don't need to postpone your happiness. This is a big thing I learned when I read Psycho-Cybernetics, is that a lot of people postpone their happiness, right? I'll be happy when this semester is over. I'll be happy when this week is over. Oh, I'll be happy when this job is over. You know, so basically you're kind of telling your brain that everything until that point is going to be unhappiness. And even though it doesn't seem like that, that's how your brain takes it, and it might, you know, it might weigh on you like that, right? Obviously we can't be happy all the time, but we can certainly be happy most of the time. And that positive mental state can only be reached through practice. You know, you have to accustom yourself to act in a proactive way against challenges and not, you know, draw away from them. And then, you know, always maintaining a clear mind and a positive picture of the end result, and then watch the results and follow the results. I mean, watch and follow, same idea. Wanting something to happen to make you happy is destructive. Oh, that, I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, like it, like if you're like, oh, I'll be happy when, you know, when this semester's over, or something like that, right? That makes yeah, that could be destructive. Yeah, because you're postponing happiness. Fake it till you make it, law of attraction. Yeah, finding happiness where you are now is hard, but sometimes is the key to learning how to be actually and truly happy. It really is. And you know, with the you know, the emotions of happiness and things like this, um so there goes that mechanical level. It's fixed. And we kind of have a weak low at the low though. You know, you get this comfortability, or that self-confidence, self-assurance, esteem, you know, some of these things that that give you that boost. Like, what did Thomas Edison say? I've not failed 10,000 times. I've not failed once. I've succeeded in proving that those 10,000 ways won't work. Right? Kind of a trippy thing, a trippy way to think about it, but that's serious. Like, it's not like you figured out, it's not like you didn't figure out anything. You figured out something. It's just that you figured out that what you did is not the right way. And that's part of figuring stuff out. Like I said, like, there's certain people that need to touch the stove to learn that it's hot. Some people need to touch it once. Some people need to touch it twice. Some people never need to touch it. And some people like to touch it. Right? That's just how that's how it is. And so you've got to understand that with the with who you are, right? Because everybody's different. I wish I could just tell you, hey, this is what I did to make me where I'm at, and you can just follow these 8 simple steps, and boom, problems are going to be solved, and you're going to be trading just like me, which isn't always great, I'll tell you that. But it's just not how it works. Where in trading, comparison to sports, where we compare a lot of sports, whereas if you want to play basketball, typically it's going to help if you're tall, right? If you want to play football, typically it's going to help if you're big. Well, if you want to be successful trading, typically it's going to help if you can understand your emotions. Not control. Notice I don't say control. Notice I say understand, because I think that is the key. But now that we're breaking this 60 level, look for it to come down. The 50 level was kind of the last level that I saw that gave support until really the prior day's high, and that T2 high. Seems like there's going to be some decent support down here maybe, but if they're able to fill those singles, I think their target would be the 50. We just saw a big order come in on the buy side, 130 lot traded on the ask right there at 58 quarter. So let's see if there's a big buyer trying to step up and hold these singles here. Starting to see buyers pull bids, and this thing's starting to gain a little bit of tempo to the downside here. If they keep giving up, could get a little bit faster move. Down to this 56 was a big area earlier. Do you know New Age philosopher Jason Silva, Shots of Awe? No, I haven't read him. I'll have to look him up. Appreciate that. I'm actually reading this book right now called Green Light by Matthew McConaughey. Pretty cool book. I mean, I'm almost done with it. It's not very long. It's I can't remember how many pages it is. But it's a good book. And then there's an Audible version too that is in it's read by him, which is cool because he has a very unique way about him. Oh yeah, Ronik, I have a DOM on my other screen that I'm looking at. Yeah. Yup. Well, and I have a time and sales too. Like, well, like I saw that big order come in right here, time and sales. Yeah, this thing looks like it wants to come down and revisit that 50, if I'm being honest. It's so hard to not get back into, like, either to get into, a short, which there was definitely opportunity. Um, I was already long, so I was kind of waiting for it to see if we get a continuation. But and I don't really like this flip flop like that. But it's tough to decide if it's gonna hold now or if we're gonna fill this distribution. Kind of looks like we're gonna fill it though. Down to 56, or I said 56. I mean, really just kind of a Globex high, really. This is why we got a little bit of volume right there. Is probably a bunch of shorts covering early on at the Globex high. So that's probably why most of that volume's there. And we see some buying here, mechanical buying off the Globex high as well. Pretty decent bounce there, about 2 points, 2.5, almost 3. That would have been a nice scalping opportunity, I think. The selling here just kind of looks like uh liquidation. Doesn't really look like new money selling. Looks like long taken profit to me. Until we start to see continuation, it just won't. I won't get any. I just won't be convinced. See what H period's got here. Remember, if they are able to take this G low, that target probably become that 50 for sure. And I mean, definitely at the close of these single prints, but the 50 would be their level down. A whole lot of nothing going on right here. It's confusion. It's like they just don't know what they want. It seems like buying is cooling off a little bit too. We've got the breadth. If you take a peek here, you know, you've got the breadth still 2-to-1 on the NYSE, so not that high. 1.4-to-1 on the Nasdaq, so really not that high. You see, utilities has flipped red. Consumer discretionary has been red. You know, the tick looks fairly balanced, right? A little bit higher, a little bit more buying today than lows. You can see the low hasn't even broke 1,000 ticks, so there hasn't really been like a strong seller coming in the market. And then the high, right? We've seen some strong buying. That was just early on though, so that I really don't count that. See, Apple's up 3.5%, Microsoft 3%, Google 2%, Amazon's still down here, right? We've got the open all the way up here, still about what is that? $30 up, almost $40 up. Tesla has barely gotten back to positive and is kind of struggling. Facebook is kind of the same boat, heading back down right now towards that previous day's low. And then Netflix, you know, looking like shit like always. So watch the 56 level here, which is that G low and kind of that Globex high. That Globex high was, what is it? 55.50. Not able to break there. That's weak. Weak. And this just kind of shows you, right? Like it shows you that, you know, the selling is just not very strong. like I said, I think that G move down was really just liquidation from the buyers realizing that they weren't getting any more initiated buying up at the highs, so they liquidated. But it looks like they were not getting any initiating sellers either down here to close these single prints yet. Let's see if they can get it this time. Remember I said if we do break that level, look for the 50 to 46-ish area was kind of like where buyers were at. Step up again. So does the market want to repair a weak low? The market does want to repair a weak low. Yes, definitely. And this is a weak low and a mechanical low, so it makes sense to try to push through it. But it's just kind of showing us the conviction of sellers, right? So like with how kind of weak this low is, how shorter term time frame traders are basically easily defending this level, right? Imagine if you blocked Michael Jordan. That's what's that's showing you the conviction of the sellers. The sellers are just like, I'm not selling it down here. No. Really making me want to buy it, to be honest with you, because it's so damn weak, but can't break it. Let's see if they get it this time. There it goes, finally. All right, so look for the 50 level. Now that we're back inside the Globex range, there was some support from 50 to 46, or 46 to 50, depending upon which way I guess you draw it, but 50 to 46 level. Kind of like the last hoorah up there, last chance. So still not able to fill those single prints quite yet. And that, I mean, there's a decent amount of volume coming in right here, but not not any follow through. So, I mean, here's the key is to pay attention to how this distribution, we still have a double distribution, just barely. I mean, I imagine that it probably fills and probably get balanced. But just watch this volume. If this volume starts to kind of fill in this area, if the market trades back up and we just start to kind of fill in this volume, this spot kind of gets stronger and stronger, even though it is, you know, in my opinion, kind of a weak reference right off of that C high, right around the Globex high. You know, it just seems like a weaker reference. And we are one time framing down from the high. You know, a lot of times that's how auctions go, right? Auction up until we get that unfair high, and then we auction lower back into value. Well, today's value is, you know, down here. You know, if we do fill the single prints, we will probably end up coming back to the point of control, which might even be all the way down to this towards the open where all the volume's at so far. Barclays expects to start 1 billion euro share buyback program this week. The Fed needs to go super hard on rate hikes. This is not a baseline. That's coming out of the Fed. Let me see, where's Twitter at? Sometimes the pop-ups go away so fast. Yeah, Fed Bostic says maybe the case that Fed needs to go super hard on rate hikes, but that is not the baseline. Oh, okay, I see. So they're not gonna go hard just to go hard, but they might need to. They just don't know. They're just not saying shit, really. Fed needs to be ready to either move faster or slower on interest rates, depending upon how the economy reacts. So here's a nothing answer. It's a dumb shit I ever heard. But watch the 64 here. We break above that H high. Will it probably, like I said, I think the market might try to look to fill in this this area. It just seems so odd that we're going to get one tick of distribution. So it's such a weird spot, because if you look at it more balanced, right? Like if we just look at it more balanced profile, it would make sense for the market to come back down in here, this 46 to 50 area, and just trade in here a little bit, build it up if it does want to continue higher, right? Because we do have balance forming higher today. So if it did want to continue higher, that would make sense. And it would still make sense even if we don't come back down and fill that in, as long as the buyers hold this area. Even if they do and they hold that 50, it would make sense if they want to take it higher from here. It's just so tough to tell where's the good entry going to be at, right? That's what I mean, that for me, that's what I'm waiting on. I'm waiting like, where's my good entry going to be at? When's it gonna pop into my lap? Coming back down to the 56. What's my bias? I think that we're just getting balanced today. I mean, I do kind of have an upside bias just because the supply out here is so weak. But I'm just being patient on where I want to get long from, right? I like this 46 to 50 area. If buyers step up in here, this could be a nice area to get in on the pullback. I mean, if they keep failing to fill this level here, there they go. Finally, Jesus. What's the deal here? Settings. There we go. Okay. I was just wondering why that single print line was there. Yeah, so I mean, it's tough to have a bias for today, really, because it's just more balanced today. So there's the 50, which was the target after we broke that double distribution. And then look for buyers to show up in this kind of 46 to 50 area. That's what would make sense if buyers are still going to hold. If we get back inside that prior day's range, there's good odds that they look to test the open. Starting to see a lot of things roll over here. But they're all coming back down into support. So still just watch. Yeah, we're in the 50 to 46 area. This is the area I'm looking to see if buyers are going to step up. If buyers don't step up here, like I said, if we get back down below that prior day high, even within that T2 range, there's good odds that we trade back down to the point of control. This is kind of the TPOC up here, but we've got our VPOC down here. Remember, our mechanical level still down at that C level. So if they were to push that open, good odds that they go to test that C low as well. And then remember, we still have this kind of little imagination land gap that from the weekend open, right? Globex opened right here and never traded back down to the settle or the last, which was 92 or 02, I mean, from Friday. So boom, there's that T2 high. Comes down quick. We looked away for 2 seconds. About 6% less volume in that last period during G. And that's, you know, that's kind of telling us right there that that probably wasn't selling, that this is probably liquidation. Ooh. Right to the T2 high in the halfback, another mechanical level. Notice where the volume just flipped to. See that? Volume moved up to that 45. You're seeing right here on the 50, you're seeing a lot of buyers lift that offer and try to kind of hold the 50, it looks like. Or maybe just absorb on the 50 or trying to be aggressive on the 50. This is interesting. 39, 50, 50 just had a 100 lot order trade on it. So if it's able to hold the 50, right, it's going to want to get out of Globex's range and, really start to fill in this area up towards that Globex high. And that's where the sellers kind of came in up there, it looks like. Okay. Oh, okay, nice. I'll see it a little bit. Love you too. Bye. Came down and just tapped the VWAP. Yeah, it definitely did. It looks like right there. What's a VWAP at? Like 42 quarter. So look for the 56 level, 55, 50, 56. That was kind of where that big order came in. Was where was that big sell order? $57 was the big sell order. A pretty decent pullback. Came down. I mean, it came down a little bit lower than we expected, but a decent little bounce. It's the key here is going to be to see if they can get back outside of that Globex range and get over this kind of volume node on this 58 right here. If they're not able to get above that, good odds that we keep coming back down and just kind of fill in this upper range if the market wants to keep getting higher. Remember that we are leaving some mechanical levels behind. You know, definitely we've got this H high or H low, the C low, some mechanical levels, and these levels may it's kind of a interesting spot, right? Because it's a mechanical level because it was at half back, but this T2 high makes sense if initiating buyers want to come in. So there could be some long money. We did see the volume point of control shift up, so we could keep getting some upside today, and that's kind of where I'm positioned right now, at least. You know, if it were to break, there could be some mechanical level breaks to the low. It just doesn't seem like the volume is going to support any move to the downside, right? Like I said, the volume's just getting less and less, and even less on the way down, which is kind of just showing us that the selling was just liquidation for the most part, at least in my opinion. And then here's that 56, 57 level. This is going to be the key level of kind of resistance, 57, 75. Remember where there's a big seller sold about 100, I think it was like 138 lots on the 57. So above that 57 by too much, you can imagine that they'll probably close the rest of that position out. Starting to see some buyers lift the offer here on the 55, but not really making any progress. So there's a seller absorbing on the 55 here. It's just going to matter who gives up first here. That's all this is. But yeah, other than that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. Like I said, I want to get a workout in before it gets too hot. It's going to be like 100 where I'm at today. So that is no bueno. Got to get these workouts in before. I will be around this afternoon. Ooh, big order just trades 108 lots on the bid. So a seller. Watch the 55. But yeah, make sure that you guys are managing risk, sticking to your trade plan. You know, if you guys have any questions or anything, definitely, you know, type them in the chat or ask them through the, you know, through here. I you know, I'd love to get into something teaching wise if you guys want to learn. Yeah, but other than that, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you guys later.